Okay, even though also he is just in the red room just permanently now. Like that's some sort of metaphor for Monte's career and where it's gone to now. So, right, why are you back, Monte? And what do you want to talk about?
So first off, I asked you guys if you wanted me to come on to talk
Funnier
about
if it's
this, and
like
you
I said
said
though.
yes.
Yeah, it's funnier if it's like I
I
said.
can't really say no, can I? Like I'm only 5 episodes in, you know.
Exactly. True.
Look, I've been busy fixing all the LFN things and making sure you guys have delightful sponsors, which we do. So I do want to. There's actually a few things we could talk about. First off, LCK Cup, that format, holy moly. Second off, LTA playoffs format,
Oh, sure.
that format, holy moly. And third off, the ongoing Riot monetization drama
Sure.
saga, which I also find to be uniquely hilarious.
But here's where, if
Um,
we start with the LCK one though, Monty, here's where, look, I don't care. I'm never going to be able to convince losers, but people who actually think that you hate T1 and just like would do anything to see them fail. Well, the joke is, Monty, if we hate T1, we should just go, this is the best format they've ever had. What are you talking about, guys? T1 isn't even as good as Nogshim. But the whole point is this bizarre format basically meant that like they somehow ended, like essentially if you're Nogshim, you just sort of got to skip around almost in a way that T1 doesn't. And T1's just out of the tournament after one play-in match, I think it was even called. So what are your thoughts on this like overall thing? Because obviously, remember, historically, you've seen all the formats of OGN into LCK, and the thing about LCK went from like Gauntlet into single elim, into single elim with selection, into double elim. Like, we've had all the variations. So what, contrasted with history, what is your concern about the LCK Cup format?
so the real problem with the LCK Cup format, I think a lot of people really hate it for kind of nonsensical reasons, but there's a really sensical reason to hate it, and it's because it does have a fatal flaw. And the reason why I got so angry about it was I was watching the T1 HLE game because obviously it was super hype. You know, I watched the HLE DK1 tonight as well. So I've been, and some of the Gen G versus HLE one. So I've been trying to catch some of the more important matches. And so I was just really angry because I asked myself, how is it even possible that the top two teams from one of these groups could meet up in a round of a playoff bracket without a loser's bracket? Okay. Because it's very weird that that could ever happen. Now, obviously, Riot, if you guys don't know how this works, they split the team into two groups that were supposed to be approximately even in terms of strength. They forced them to play across cross groups. So normally you would see play within the group, but this time it was like one group is one team and the other group is the other team, and they're trying to face off. And the team that got more match wins or series wins was the one that was declared the winners group, and then there was the losers group. And the way it works is the top three teams of the winners group are automatically advanced into basically the top two teams are advanced to the double elimination bracket. The final third team from the winners group is advanced into the playoffs. And then we see four teams, I know it's very confusing, four teams from the losers group enter a play-in, and the bottom two teams out of five from the winners group enter the play-ins. So if you're still with me, that's all fine. Like I don't think it's that big of a deal, because if you do have strong teams in the losers group, you're still going to actually advance into the playoffs. The issue here is that they have two different forms of seeding. So I need to be very clear about this. In the play-ins, the teams were seeded according to their number of series wins. Now, what does this mean? It means that T1 and Hanwha, which had more series wins than the bottom two teams that were from the winners group, were advanced into the first and second seeds. Makes sense, right? You want the best teams out of the losers groups to have the preferable seeding. All right. So what doesn't make sense is they don't keep that seeding into the playoffs. So the seeding in the playoffs is KT, who is the third place team in the winners group, is the top seed. This means that they play the bottom seed, which ended up being Nongshim, because T1 and Hanwha both won their initial matches in play-ins, and both of them had two chances. Those teams basically had a double elimination bracket. So T1 and Hanwha then play each other with no losers bracket. Hanwha eliminates T1 in a nail biter when T1 is, maybe the third best team, maybe second best team. We'll never know within the actual bracket. And so what we have here is two different seeding systems that are being used. Play-ins are seeded based on match wins, and playoffs are seeded based off of who was in the winners group. And this is just fucking terrible because it resulted in this scenario where we just have a weaker bracket. We have a less exciting losers bracket. Nongshim, it turns out Nongshim won, but Nongshim or KT are getting into a double elimination bracket basically for free. One of those teams, they don't actually have to beat somebody who is good. And I just don't understand why you use group stage to seed the play-ins, but then you don't use group stage to seed the playoffs. It makes absolutely no fucking sense and completely resulted in this scenario.
I'll just do what all the horrible reply guys do when teams like T1 do win in bad formats like Worlds. They'll just do this, Monty. You know, technically what made those groups the way you just described is that T1 themselves lost to D+. So Monty, just win your games and then you don't have any problems, do you?
But
yeah, and now I sit back with a shit-eating grin like I just did something.
But you know, the funny thing is like, why is it T1 and Hanwha's fault that the bad teams...
It's ridiculous, yes.
That the bad teams lost more games when they won games. So they were punished for other teams being bad. And then when they were good, by instantly advancing out of play-ins, their punishment was that they had to face each other.
Look, I know that was a rhetorical question, but let me answer it. It's because if Faker had actually had the cultural impact I'm told he did, he'd have inspired those players. He'd have led the way to a new... It'd be like Aragorn at the end of Lord of the Rings for Frodo, and they'd have just all fought so hard to get Faker into that double elimination. But instead, he didn't. Meanwhile, Beryl actually is the true hero. He's like a guy who takes in orphan children and fucking raises them to be superheroes. He's a fucking legend, mate. He's like Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, another reference from the 1990s, but whatever. Go on, Monty, go on.
Also, I just want to point out that KT lost in the head-to-head in the group stage to both T1 and Hanwha, so they wouldn't have gotten seeding based off of head-to-head either. And the funniest thing is you never want to design formats where people are incentivized to lose.
Yes.
But the hilarious shit is if Hanwha or T1 had intentionally lost, gone to the losers match, won that, which they almost certainly would have won, then they would have faced KT and it would have been easier.
Right.
So who the fuck designed this thing? Like this is such a fatal
the weirdest
flaw.
question is this, Monty. The real rhetorical question is, who asked for this? Like, bro, we had a great format before. First of all, who, by the way, haven't we learned from EUL? I know people won't remember this, EULCS once did the 2-group system. LPL did it. It never works because actually one of the other things about doing this system is you can't know before you do the groups how good the teams are. So you almost inevitably make an unfair group and a not that bad group.
Yeah.
And so especially when you let like first place go directly to certain spots, you're also going to end up with wacky stuff. I've always thought the benefit of the league systems we've had so far is they're just one giant group. Like you play everyone, and then it's just who did better in the league.
It's just a tricky thing, right? It's like the winter split is so compact. They don't have any time to do like the round robin. It's like that side I don't mind too much. It is weird that in terms of like the determined seeding is based off of like some results of last year, which was Genji How Alive, which kind of worked out in some sense. But also the fact that T1 in the end also, like when they could pick a team, they chose FearX that went 0-5, where they could have chosen like Nongshim or like KT or anything. So that also makes it like an additional layer of weird. Like for me as well, it's like I don't know why there was such a big break between the games, because they could have added another round. Just if that was just double elimination.
It was Lunar New Year in Asia. That's why it's like a national
that part is okay, but still there was like a big gap, like 5 days no games. Just slot them in there, like no problem. And then I think if there was a double elimination coming into, of course, the second round, I feel like everything would have been settled, because that would be like what 2-3 more matches, and then it would have been okay as well, I think.
You know, technically, Monty, the Lunar New Year break is the LCK's werewolf break.
That's true.
Which is quite fitting, really, if you think about it.
I need an explanation. What does this mean, bro?
You have to look up the LFN Culture Channel episode called The Beast Must Die, which is about like a sort of cult horror movie. And you'll find out it's worth watching just for Richard Lewis's explanation of what a werewolf break is. Just check it out. There you go.
Right.
Cross promotion.
That's true. It's become a joke on our show Foreplay over on the Culture Channel.
I actually did that joke. I told you in my Reckless video, I said like something like his werewolf break or something at one point in time, whatever. We did in there, so I'm trying to seed it all around. What is a werewolf break? Yeah, I'm going to get everyone to watch that episode, and he's on 50K views.
Don't watch that movie, though. That movie is shit.
It wasn't great, but here's the thing: it wasn't terrible either. It was sort of like a weird oddity. Anyway, speaking of weird oddities, back to the LC Cup format. Because I agree, Monty. What's made this also age like absolute ass is, well, now Hanwha Life might just be the best team, and so because they win up against everyone in Game 5 and it's messy, maybe T1 actually is still the second best. We don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll never know now. That's the worst thing because they finished 5th to 6th or whatever. They've actually low-key, no joke, Monty, ruined the playoffs. The reason being because I still have to watch fucking Nongshim play Gen G. I don't want to see that. I want to see T1 play Gen G, obviously. Not Nongshim.
Also, I also hate, for the reason that even though it annoys me to hear all the T1 fanboys say, well, they've never finished below 4th place with this roster.
Sure.
Like, they don't deserve to get owned by seeding like this. This is the lamest way they could have finished.
No, the fans do, but T1
that.
don't. I agree. T1, the team, doesn't, but the fans, they do sort of deserve that look. They deserve a few of those, like, upset 10th place finishes, you know, just to humble them a little bit, keep them down, you know, fucking chill out, homie. Listen, little bro, chill for me, okay? They need that fucking Ronaldo karma.
On the flip side, at least though, Hanwha Life have the biggest path of resistance. They're like undisputed, you know. Like, they had to beat T1, they beat D+, and most likely to beat Gen G.
It's crazy, you know. No, what the fuck?
There's always Hanwha Life just have to face, you know, the tough teams.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.